What's up guys, welcome to Tech Savvy Buyer. So today I'm going to show you guys some really awesome modded controllers that you can use for your PlayStation 4. These are standard Dualshock 4 controllers that have been modded by MegaModz. They can do a number of cool things and each one of these controllers have different functionalities compared to the other. In fact, their market is pretty much full of different types of controllers out there. You've got the Strike Pack, you've got PS4's own dual button back attachment, and you even have the Dawn Remap kit for the PS4 controller, which is kind of a do-it-yourself solution. So with all these things going around, and of course, let's not forget Scuff and NACON, and pretty much every other company has some kind of customized controller, thing out there. How do these two separate themselves from the competition, and what really makes these controllers unique? I'm going to explain that to you guys in today's video, and I'm also going to show you what's cool about each one of these controllers. But before we do, one, I want to give a huge shout out to MegaModz for sending these controllers for review, and two, let's get a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by GVGMall.com. GVG Mall carries a wide variety of game currencies and gift cards that you could use to take your gaming to the next level. If you're looking for a fresh copy of Windows or Microsoft Office, then you can certainly find those on GVGMall.com as well. They are priced very competitively and offer legit copies of Microsoft software. You can pick up a copy of Windows 10 Pro for under 15 bucks. Visit GVGMall.com for more information and use code TSB to save during checkout. Okay, so welcome back. Now guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button while you're still here, because this type of content is always coming out from my channel, and you guys are going to continuously enjoy it and get notifications whenever I'm doing new stuff like this. So anyways, so here I have two of the controllers sent to me from MegaModz, and each one is different. This one is the macro controller. The macro controller has two back buttons on the rear, which allow you to basically assign different functionalities and do remaps with this set. And on the left here, I have the modded controller. Now, what's different between this and that is that this one has some mods that you can install in it. And we're gonna dive deep into each specific controller, what they do, all the cool things about them. But one thing I do want to mention up front before I give you guys a scoop on this is that these guys are a lot more affordable than going for some other alternatives. Granted, the dual button attachment made by Sony does offer, pretty much the most easy, let's say, cost of ownership, because it's only 30 bucks to get up front. However, you have to consider that you already have to have a controller, which probably 99 to 100% of you guys do if you're looking for that attachment. Now, if you want an additional controller and you want to get some modifications, this is perfect. MegaModz takes a brand new DualShock 4 controller, so the cost of that at 60 bucks, plus it does the modifications for you. So if you're one of those people that liked the do-it-yourself remap kit that I made last year, but you thought it was a little bit too complicated and you weren't comfortable with opening up your controller and doing all that stuff, they'll do something very similar to that with this specific application. Now, if you want to go all out, get customization like custom thumbsticks like you see here, the buttons, the shell difference, the back difference, all that kind of jazz, you're gonna pretty much nickel and dime and add those things into it, and it can quickly get expensive. But I can help you guys out with that. They did give me a 15% off coupon to share with you guys. The code is TechSavvy. Use that during checkout and you can save 15% site-wide. So it doesn't have to be just these controllers. Anything you pick up, you'll get 15% off. Definitely try and use it towards these controllers, because 15% off is gonna give you a pretty decent discount to get this at a more affordable price. Anyways, I digress. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna first look at the macro controller. I'm gonna give you guys an up close as to what exactly is in this controller, what it does, and how it interprets into a first-person shooter game, or pretty much any game that you want to try and play. Next, we're gonna take a look at the modded controller, and I'm basically gonna show you guys what the main differences are between the two. So before we begin, I'm not doing an unboxing today, and the reason is that MegaModz didn't have the original packaging available at the time that they shipped this, and it's largely due to the coronavirus going insane in China, where pretty much most companies get their packaging stuff made. So they shipped it to me in an original DualShock 4 package. It's the same one the actual controllers came in, and along with it, they sent the instruction booklet. Now, this thing is a godsend. It is also available online, but you're gonna find yourself using this a lot because, guys, this is really complicated stuff. There's a steep learning curve to really enjoying these controllers. And I don't care what anyone says, no matter how good you are with different controllers and using remap kits and whatnot, this is not like anything you've done before. It's got a lot more complexities in it. It's got a lot more things that you need to recognize and learn as you do with the controller, which makes it even harder for me as a reviewer to explain to you guys and to teach you guys how to do it. However, that being said, once you get the hang of it, it's a breeze to go through it. So the learning curve is a little bit steep, but the whole point of this video is not to only just review this, but to teach you guys how to use these controllers. Anyways, again, let's jump into each one of these controllers and let me show you the functionality, and then I'll see you guys back and kind of go more in detail on each one of them. All right, guys, so let's start off by looking at the macro controller. This is the custom macro controller I had made from MegaModz, and this is essentially what it looks like. On the back, you get 2 separate paddles, you get an on-off switch, and on the bottom, there's also 4 LED lights that represent what mode you're in and what button has been mapped to these. Each light will glow a different color to let you know which button has been mapped. So let's take a look at mapping one button. It's very simple. All you gotta do is hold the on-off switch along with the button that you're gonna map to and the button that you wanna map together. So let's say I want to map X. I'm gonna hold the power button, hold my shoulder, which I want to, and then hold X. Controller will vibrate like that, green lights will flash, and then it'll indicate for the right side, the right light at the top will turn the color that is corresponding to that button. So in this case, the blue matches with X. Now, if I want to change that to, let's say, circle, hold, and to repeat the same thing, circle has a different color. And basically you get the point. Now that we pretty much have the button remapped, this is a simple remap at this point, which means if I press this button, it's going to behave just like the button that I programmed it to do. The other cool thing with the macro controller that you can do is enter sub-modes. Now what sub-modes basically means is you can go into different modes of this controller because there is a mod chip inside, and it lets you program that button to behave in a different way than just a simple remap. So for example, I have this map to circle. If I want it to do turbo, I'm gonna hold the power button and hold the shoulder button for a couple of seconds. Once the green lights flash, now it's telling me that I'm in mode 1. If I press R2, I can change the mode, and the amount of lights that light up basically indicate what mode it's in. So as I keep pressing R2, I can keep navigating up to a total of 5 modes, which the green light comes up, that means you're in 5th mode. Pressing L2 will bring it down a mode as well. So suppose I want to go into mode 2, there we go, press the on-off button on the back, and now we are in mode 2. Now that means that this is going to function with turbo functionality. Turbo functionality is very similar to rapid fire, albeit it's not as fast, but it behaves like a turbo. So this is great in first-person shooter games where you're using a gun that has semi-automatic fire. So let's take a look at using some semi-automatic fire. All right, R2 is mapped, and it's in single mode. We're gonna go ahead and change this to turbo mode by holding it. All right, now we are in turbo mode. So if I aim here and I press R2, again, just single fire only. If I aim here and press the shoulder button, see how that works? It's doing rapid fire. This is really useful if you're playing a game like this with a semi-automatic rifle. Look at that. Just by holding, I'm not pressing any buttons there. And it even indicates that that's working. So you could do the same thing with each controller button that you have here. You can pretty much have up to 28 configurations by deciding to choose which buttons you want to program to this. And you can go up to 2 modes on each, and that way you have a pretty wide variety of things you could do with, you know, the single button configuration. So it can behave just as a single remap kit, or it can behave in these different sub modes the way you like. So this is the modded controller, and you can see the difference in my customization. I put some chrome D-pad there and some white buttons and green thumbsticks. And it's a 2-tone faceplate, unlike this guy. So what is the main difference between this and the macro controller? Well, for starters, they both have a mod chip, so that's definitely a similarity. They both also have the LED light indicators on the bottom that kind of tell you what mode that you're in or what mod you have logged into this. And in this case, I got the extra buttons as an add-on from MegaModz. It's totally optional. It doesn't traditionally come with this unless you want to get that installed. And then you have the same on-off switch button on the same area, just like the macro controller. So that's what's pretty much similar between this and the macro controller. However, in terms of behavior, they behave completely different. Now you do have these remappable buttons, and you can pretty much do a simple remap to these. You can't do the stuff that the macro controller does, like double, triple press, or any other sub modes like that. You can pretty much only do single remaps to these buttons. However, what the cool thing is because there's a mod chip on this, while you're customizing your controller, you can add different modification packages for specific games you play. Now, albeit these are highly geared towards first-person shooter games. In fact, I'd say 99% of the mods that you get on these controllers are geared towards Call of Duty, Destiny, Battlefield, and pretty much any other first-person shooter game that has a typical shooter-style layout. So To activate the mod, it depends on what mods you purchase. So in this case, you have to get rapid fire as a base one, which is very simple to activate. So you press the on off button on the back, you're gonna go ahead and press the shoot button that you want. In this case, it's gonna be R2. Now that just activated rapid fire. And rapid fire gets paired with the original button. So you're not gonna be using the back shoulder like you do in the macro key. And you can see this indicates that I have rapid fire enabled. So let's go ahead and test out this rapid fire. But before we do, let's turn it off. Turn it off there. Okay, so with nothing enabled, if I press R2 here and I hold it, it's just single fires. See, look. I have to keep doing this to basically shoot. Okay, let's go ahead and reload. Now I'm going to enable rapid fire. There we go, and now look at it. See the difference there? This makes a huge difference again in games like this where you're using a semi-automatic rifle, and it's a lot faster than the macro controller if you guys noticed as well. Now another thing I can enable is drop shots. So press that button, press circle, that's the indicated key for it. Now every time I aim, automatically gonna drop down. So if I'm running and I start shooting, there we go, I go into prone position. So again, very helpful when you're playing Call of Duty type games. Now there's a number of different mods you can add to the controller and they all just depend on what you want. They have quick scope, rapid fire, drop shots, akimbos, and basically there's a whole bunch of stuff and they're only $7 per add-on. Although I would recommend that you pick up one of the larger packages because it includes a ton of them at once. But hey, that's basically how you use this functionality and how it can offer you a much more competitive edge in first-person shooter games such as Call of Duty. All right, guys, so you pretty much got a chance to see firsthand what the macro controller does versus what the modded controller does. And albeit really the modded controller or the macro controller can pretty much just program a single button at a time to a single paddle. So at max, you can have 2 paddles set with 2 different buttons, and you pretty much are just able to adjust the timing that those presses are for the turbo modes, the sub modes that have like double tap, triple tap, how fast you want that actual action to be done. And inside the brain is the mod chip that's doing all those things. So it's really good for the most beginner level gamer going on to the more experienced one who's comfortable doing modifications to the different timings. Now the booklet includes all the instructions to do that. I'm not going to cover that in this video because frankly I'm not that professional on this to adjust all the timings that you can on this. However, if that's something that you fancy, you can actually do it with a modded controller or the macro controller, and it works pretty well for the people who try to use that. Now the modded controller comes with mods built into it, and it's very similar to how the Strike Pack controller used to work. Now the Strike Pack controller, the main difference between these two is you'd have to pay for the different modifications, put this into a computer software, download that, go through all your settings, and that's how you would get the mods to work. The difference, or the main difference is, one, you pay for this upfront when you're making your selection during checkout, and second, it's all on the fly on the actual controller. So with a tap of a few buttons, you can access those modes and put those mods on the controller to whatever button you want pre-assigned, and it's gonna work flawlessly. The other cool thing is because there's a mod chip in there, it intelligently recognizes if you change a button. So for example, if you wanted to change your R2 shoot button to R1 and you set your R2 as a rapid fire, or you turn rapid fire on, it's already going to know that the rapid fire should be set to the button that's fire. So if you change that to R1, it's going to change that along with it. Super cool feature, really small nitty bitty detail that MegaModz pays attention to that I think you should really come to appreciate. So between the two, which controller is right for you? I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. Personally, I really enjoyed using the modded controller. Gave me the extra buttons on the back that I wanted to use and programmed for different buttons such as jumping and whatnot. And in addition, it has all the good features to use for first-person shooters. Now this macro controller definitely has its use outside of just first-person shooters. So it can also do the rapid fire similar, and I showed you guys that. But the other cool thing is you can use this in all types of games. The modded controller, you're pretty much confined to just using that with a first-person shooter. So that's one of the major differences. Whenever mods you put on, they're only for first-person shooters. So if you pay a buttload of money on this, or a boatload of money on this, you're pretty much going to be stuck to just using this with first-person shooter games. I mean, of course, you can use the controller for regular needs and whatnot, but the extra functionality, rapid fire, and all that kind of stuff, there's hard uses for that, or not, you're limited, let's say, in uses for other games that would demand a function like that. However, with the macro one, you can assign this to any game. So if you're playing God of War, you're playing something that requires you to do button mashing in certain sequences, this is really useful in situations like that because you can program it to be any one of the buttons you want. It'll also be great, like I mentioned, in a wrestling game. I know a lot of times if you're trying to get someone to submit or tap out or whatever, it works well in situations like that. So I'll let you guys pretty much, again, decide which one works for you. But again, guys, that pretty much concludes the differences between these two controllers. Honestly, they both are really, really well made quality-wise. You get that customization ability, and they really, truly separate themselves from the competition, because most of it is the fact that you can do it on the fly and you don't need to hook up any special software to it, and it gives you a lot more functionality. Remember, you get 5 sub modes inside the macro controller. You can do turbo, double tap, triple tap, continuous press, or simple remap. There's just a ton of stuff you can do with this controller, and honestly, I really enjoy doing it. This one's gonna be my personal go-to from now on, playing Call of Duty and other stuff, so if you see me using a semi-automatic like crazy, you know I'm playing with that. But anyways, guys, that is the end of this video. I hope you guys found this useful. I'm gonna leave links to MegaModz site on the description below where you guys can pick up one of these controllers or whichever one you want, customize it, use 15% off. This makes a great gift for people as well if you're looking to give it to that gamer person in your life, or treat yourself and get one for yourself. But anyways, guys, thank you very much for sticking through to the end of this video. As always, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the comments until I see you on my next video. Take care and bye-bye.